with 6 and 6, where we cover 6 stories from around the world in 6 minutes or less. With that said, start your timer. We begin today in Peru, where thousands of informal miners protested in Lima against new legislation that would terminate their temporary work permits. The miners argue that the government has not provided sufficient support for transitioning to legal mining operations, and the demonstrations highlight the economic precarity of small-scale miners who fear losing their means of legal employment without viable alternatives. From Reuters, quote, "We have no intention of operating illegally," said one protest leader, but with the government now threatening to take away our only lifeline without providing any alternative solution, we have no choice but to protest. These miners remain largely unincorporated into the formal economy, and this bill appears to be a drastic step without a clear path forward. End quote. Next, we travel across the world to Nigeria, where a deadly church attack has happened in the north of the country, resulting in 2 deaths and multiple abductions during a Sunday service. The incident highlights ongoing security challenges in the region, where armed groups frequently target communities and ethnic groups who have religious and ethnic tensions. Local police are currently conducting a manhunt for the attackers and investigating the situation. From Reuters, quote, "The attack on the church underscores the persistent security challenges in Nigeria, particularly in regions where religious and ethnic tensions are more pronounced. People were screaming. There was chaos everywhere. They shot indiscriminately, and they took anyone they could find." End quote. Next, we travel across the Atlantic to Jamaica, where the country is seeking $9.5 billion in financial aid to recover from the devastating Hurricane Melissa, which struck in early November. The hurricane caused expensive damages to homes, infrastructure, and critical tourism sector assets. The Jamaican government is appealing to international lenders and development partners to support reconstruction efforts and enhance disaster preparedness. From Reuters, quote, Prime Minister Andrew Holness stated, "The severity of the Hurricane Melissa has left Jamaica in a vulnerable position, prompting a desperate plea for substantial financial support. Our infrastructure has been severely compromised, thousands of homes are uninhabitable, and our tourism industry, which is the backbone of our economy, has been significantly disrupted." End quote. Next, we travel across the world to South Korea, where a ferry carrying 260 passengers encountered a maritime emergency near Wondu after hitting rocks during its journey from Jeju Island to Mokpo. Poor visibility caused by dense fog and challenging weather conditions likely contributed to the incident. The South Korean Coast Guard launched immediate rescue operations to ensure passenger safety, with all efforts focused on evacuation and preventing potential casualties. From Reuters, quote, "Upon impact, the vessel began to take on water, prompting an immediate call for evacuation. Rescue boats and helicopters were promptly dispatched to the scene, coordinating closely with nearby ships which offered assistance," said a South Korean maritime official. End quote. Next, we travel south to Australia, where banking regulator APRA has issued a stern warning to banks about the risks of relaxing lending standards in a competitive market. APRA emphasized the critical need for rigorous lending standards to prevent potential economic risks and maintain financial systems resilience. From Reuters, quote, "While we recognize the importance of competition, it must not come at the expense of appropriate lending standards," said APRA Chairman John Lonsdale. He further cautioned, "We have observed that some entities are more interested in expanding their market share rather than maintaining sound lending practices. This is a situation that needs careful management to avoid jeopardizing long-term stability." End quote. Next, we travel to Europe, where a trial has begun in North Macedonia regarding a catastrophic nightclub fire that killed 63 people in the capital of Sukopoche. The legal proceedings aim to address responsibility and accountability for the tragedy, with several individuals, including the club's owner and local officials, facing charges of negligence. The trial is being closely monitored by the victims' families and safety advocates seeking systematic change in public venue safety regulations. From Reuters, quote, This trial represents a pivotal moment in holding those accountable who may have contributed to one of North Macedonia's deadliest peacetime disasters. Many are hoping that the proceedings will lead to significant reforms in safety compliance and prevent similar tragedies from occurring in the future. End quote. We also did a report when this first happened on this exact same channel with the same label of 6 and 6, so you can find that episode down there. Also down there in the description, you can find the like and subscribe button. You can also find the links to the articles from today, as well as the links to this podcast on Spotify, Podcast, Podvine, as well as the Twitter handle at Your Daily Flip, where I post links to these episodes on Tuesday, Thursday, and the more U.S.-focused podcast that comes out on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So, with all that said, there's only one more thing to say. Stay safe. Don't die.